YouTube. What's up, baby? We back in this thing again for another review. This is Q's Insight. I am Callie, and today we're going to be talking about Halo Season 1, Episode 4, entitled Homecoming. Alright? Now, if you've been to this channel before, you already know how we do it. Started off with the premise, 3 favorite scenes, the grade, and then we on to the next one, right? So, again, this is Halo Episode 4, entitled Homecoming. So, for this one, we start off with seeing the Spartans as kids, all right? We see Halsey had a connection with Chief since the beginning, right? She's sitting there, she's telling him how important he is and, you know, how he would be the one to lead the Spartans eventually. That's what she felt, and that's what happened, so it's crazy. And then from there, we find out that Halsey's ultimate mission with this artifact that was found by Master Chief, what she wants to do with it is find who created it. She wants to meet the creators of the artifact and find out more about these people, and if they know, questions about us, our as humanity, like, are they part of us? Did we come from them? I'm saying, things like that. So Chief, Halsey and the other doctor or scientist, whatever you want to say, they're still headed to a readiness. Hopefully I pronounced that right, but that's Master Chief's home planet. And then we see Quan and Soren, and they end up arriving at Madrigal. We see that and then we jump from there and we go to the planet Reach. And I guess that's like where, the Spartans are or whatnot. Maybe that's where the head UNC is, you know what I'm saying? But we see on that planet, we go to Kai, and she's one of the Spartans as well. And, she was the one that actually saw Master Chief remove his back pellet on the last episode. And we end up finding out in this episode, she removed her back pellet. And so yeah, now she's gonna be feeling, you know what I'm saying? She's gonna be more so like a human. We find out that the colony on Eratinus, before, everything had happened, like as far as like whatever happened to his family and the people that were there, we found out that colony was led by Master Chief's parents. And then we see Chief. Chief basically remembers where he buried the artifact, like, exactly. You feel me? Like, pretty much. So, him, Halsey, and the other scientists, they start looking for it in the area where he remembers it being at last. Quan tries to get help from a friend. His name is Atu. But he doesn't want to help because he knows that the UNSC and everybody else is after her, and it's just kind of like it feels like a lost cause to him to try to be a renegade, because like the people that he would run with are they're pretty much gone, you know what I'm saying. But like I said, he doesn't want to help, but he does tell Quan to come to her father's memorial, which is going to be that night. And then from there we see Kai, and she's definitely feeling different. You feel me? Definitely feeling different. She like put some hair dye in her hair, and what I'm saying, she's just more talkative and things of that nature. So she seems more human like. And Dr. Keyes has the Spartans, Kai, Vanek, and Riz. He has them do an experiment with the artifact to see if that when they interact with the artifact, does it interact with them as well. How it does, just like how it does when Master Chief does it. When he touches it, it also activates. He activates it, and it activates him as well. You know what I'm saying? So she's trying to figure out what is so different about Master Chief and why it's working so. Why it's activating for him more so than anybody else. So anyways, we go back to Master Chief, Halsey, and a scientist, and they end up digging up this suitcase where they were looking for the artifact. And in the suitcase, what's inside there were pictures that Master Chief had drawn when he was younger, and they were like pictures of the artifact and like the halo as well and stuff like that. And he remembers it but doesn't understand it completely what it all means. You know what I'm saying? And then we go back to Quan and Soren, and they end up going to the memorial. Quan finds Agatha. Agatha is a old lieutenant that used to run when Quan's father was still the leader. And so she finds Agatha. She's talking to Agatha like, yo, like let's make an uprising. Let's fight back against Venture and his people. You know what I'm saying? And Agatha's like, you know what? No, like everybody's dead. I'm the only one that's left as far as lieutenants. And Quan is hurt by this because she's like, you're like my father's left hand, and you're just gonna sit here and just give in to defeat. You know what I'm saying? And I just can't believe that after everything he's done for you. But anyways, Quan and Soren end up having to leave the memorial because, in the midst of all that talking and stuff like that, Quan got really loud. And so, Venture's people ended up finding where they were at. And so, they had to leave. They had to leave the area. So then we jump back with the Spartans and Dr. Keys, and she's having them try to activate the artifact. It doesn't work, but during all this time, she's having a good conversation with Kai, and it just was really cool. You know what I'm saying? Like they both helped each other out with information, and so from there, we see Chief, and he ends up going through his memories to try to find out exactly where the artifact is, because he thought he knew before, but what was buried there was a suitcase full of drawings. So he tries to go back into his memories with the help of Cortana. And there's like this part where Cortana can't access the memories, but he still tries to do it on his own, and he's able to access those memories by himself. And so he's seeing stuff that Cortana isn't. You know what I'm saying? So he's finding out stuff, and we know that that's dangerous for Halsey because she, that's one of the reasons why she put Cortana in him, was to, make sure he doesn't find out certain things of his memory. But obviously now with him being able to go into that dream world and remember stuff by himself, even without Cortana's help, she can't prevent him from, learning whatever he's learning. And she doesn't even know what he's learning at that point because she's not seeing it like how he's seeing it. But anyways, in the memory, he ends up finding out like where the artifact is, where it was. And he even sees that as a kid, he interacted with the artifact, and it reacted to him when he touched it. So in while he's having these memories, he sees that Halsey's been in contact with him even before he went in for the Spartan training. So she's had contact with him at his home planet in his house. So, it's like he's being cautious at this point, because it's like, yo, why would you not, you know what I'm saying? Like you know what's going on, like pretty much, like, so quit acting dumb type stuff. So now he's being cautious with her, and she, can sense that. Um so we end up seeing Keys ends up having an idea, and that's to use the Spartans' knowledge of the Covenant, like their language and stuff like that, to cipher out, certain things, and maybe it can give them information about, the artifact, or exactly what the Covenant is trying to do with the artifact, or whatever it may be, because she learns that the Spartans know some of the language, of course, over the years, of dealing with the Covenant. Of course, they know some of the language. So they start working all together and trying to piece a message that was intercepted, that they intercepted a long time ago, like earlier in the season, the UNSC. They intercepted that message. They didn't know what it meant. They couldn't even break it down because they didn't know the language. But being that the Spartans do know the language now, they can kind of puzzle it together and figure out what's going on a little bit. So from there, we get Quan, and she tells Soren that they need to find her auntie. And so Quan and Soren, they reach her auntie. I think her name is Sujun, or Sujun. And her and her auntie end up talking about, her father, and Venture has Franco go do. Let me back up a little bit. So Soren and Quan reach her aunt. Venture has this assistant, like assassin named Franco, and since he knows that Quan and Soren is on the planet trying to do whatever, he sends her to go deal with them, and deal with them quietly, because they can become a problem if not. You know what I'm saying? And then Soren, I'm sorry. So Quan goes to talk to her aunt. You know what I'm saying? And as she's talking to her aunt, Soren goes to go look for a ship. So then from there we see Keys, and she's talking to the Spartans about just stuff, and Halsey, and her Keys and Keys and Kai, they end up having like a really, really deep conversation, and it was needed, on both hands, on both sides, what I'm saying? And then after that, we get Chief, and he ends up talking to Halsey about his memories, and how she was in it and stuff like that, and just it's a weird situation. So anyways, after that, we get Soren finds out about his ship, and that it got gutted while they were doing what they were doing on Madrigal. So now he's out of a ship. He needs to get a new one if he can. Quan tries to get her aunt to stand up with her, against Venture and his people. But Quan's aunt tells her that, she's not going to do it. She's not for the fight. And she ends up telling her some stuff about her father, like her father, before becoming like the leader of Madrigal, whatever you want to say. He ended up talking to this group named the Mystics. And after coming back from the Mystics, like he ended up knowing different, he ended up acting differently, and knowing why he had to be the leader of Madrigal. And of course Quan wants to know like what the Mystics said to him, but Quan's aunt doesn't know what the Mystics said to him. So now what Quan wants to do is go after the Mystics and find out what they told her father, so that she can be in the know, because she doesn't know right now. So then from there, what ends up happening is Venture's assassin ends up arriving, Franco, and she ends up killing Quan's aunt. And so Quan is trying to escape, and she does end up escaping with the help of Soren. So they get out of there. And then after that, we go to Master Chief and Halsey and the scientists, and they end up heading to the spot where the second spot where now we do know that the artifact is, because we learned that once again through Master Chief's visions, his memories. And then from there we go to Keyes and Kai, and they figure stuff out as far as like what the Covenant was talking about and the message that they intercepted. And then Keyes asks Kai to keep it secret, just between them, because she doesn't really trust Halsey, and Keyes agrees to do so. And then we got Master Chief, Halsey, and the scientists actually arriving at where the artifact was, and then he's about to touch it. And that's how the episode ends. Three of my favorite scenes of this episode would be Soren fighting Sujin's people, which is Sujin is Kwan's aunt. Second scene would be Soren fighting Venture's people. And then third favorite scene would be Kai and Keyes scenes together. Like, it was just cool to see them bond and like, see Kai actually be like, human like and everything like that. It's cool seeing the differences between them being like a robot to being human. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really do their job well. But yeah, those would be three of my favorite scenes. For this episode, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. So definitely not a bad grade at all. Definitely not a bad grade at all. I wish there was more fighting in this, but this was more so like a backstory episode and a filling in episode. So, I definitely enjoyed it. But 8 out of 10 for me. If you guys saw this episode, let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. As always, this is Q's Insight. I am Callie. Until next time.